Okay, we're filling up, so maybe we'll get started. It's exciting to see people basically from all over the world here. We're our speakers from Mexico. I can see we have people in Sweden and in the US and in Kigali and in Huye, all over the place. So this is really exciting. I know more people are going to be coming, but I want to start so that we can, we always try to keep time to exactly an hour. I want to remind people it would be best if you keep your microphone muted and also your video off, and then when after the talk, and then you can interact directly with Carlos. You're welcome to unmute and speak directly, or you can use the chat room and you can put in comments and questions there as well. And so I want to welcome everybody to our weekly seminar. This is the Center of Excellence in Biodiversity and Natural Resource Management at the University of Rwanda. And we are really excited to have Carlos Velazco here today. Normally today's Thursday, right? Sorry. Yeah, today is Thursday. Our seminar is usually on Wednesday at 3. But we are very flexible because we like to accommodate speakers, etc. So that's why we're doing this today, Thursday at 3. And thanks everybody who came here on time. And this seminar series is really a way just to inform people about what's going on in the world of biodiversity and natural resource management, both natural and social sciences. And we welcome talks from anywhere in the world. I always remind people, if you have a talk, a presentation that you'd like to give, please contact Daniel and he will get you set up. So Carlos is going to talk to us today. He's coming to us from Mexico, which is a biodiversity rich country. And this talk is following or on the heels of a workshop we just had on Monday and Tuesday, thanks to Providence, who is here. I think she's here, and she got funding from National Geographic and organized with some of our staff in the center to have a training on using iNaturalist. And then we did a mini Bioblitz in the Arboretum, which is an amazing resource on the Huye campus, where we had students going in and looking at everything they could find that was a living and then bringing it into iNaturalist. We are really interested in making biodiversity data available, and iNaturalist seems like an amazing tool for that, an amazing tool for linking people to nature. So we're just so excited to have Carlos here to talk to us about iNaturalist and how it works, and its relationship to citizen science, and how we as a community here in Rwanda can get more involved with it. So thanks so much, Carlos. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Beth. I'm really glad to be here with you today. I hope I can make it up to your expectations. Now, can I record this session? Is there any problem if I record it?
Oh, usually it's the speaker who doesn't want it. So we love to record, and we have a YouTube channel. We'd love to, if you give us permission to post it there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to start recording. Yeah. So thank you, Beth, for your presentation, and thank you, Providence, for inviting me for this talk. And yes, I know that you have been introduced to the iNaturalist world, and I will try to share a little bit about what is iNaturalist, how it came to be, how much has it grown, and especially how can we use that information? I mean, information is totally useless unless it's out there for the community, for the people, for the scientists. And the good news is more and more people, more and more countries are getting involved in this world initiative, which is a joint initiative, by the way, for the California Academy of Science and National Geographic. I mean, those two institutions alone give a lot of respect to this kind of projects. But okay, let me try to share my screen. And remember that you have any comment, any questions, please use the chat, or later on you can unmute. But please don't keep your questions to yourself. Any kind of comment or questions are always welcome, because that's what it makes more interesting, this kind of talk. So going back to what you have already started with, I know that you have this amazing Bioblitz, and I know it was amazing because me being in Northeast Mexico, I live in Northeast Mexico, the city of Monterrey. I'm going to show you later on where I am. Through iNaturalist, I was able to see what you have been doing during the last couple of days. I know that you have been observing 99 species. You have like 206 observations. I know that so far it's been like 16 observers, and I can get a short glimpse of what your biodiversity among this area is, the main campus here. This is the kind of tool that allows people from anywhere in the world to go and look and learn about biodiversity of any place. You can see here that I've been messing around a little bit with some identifications. You will see this strange name, Aztecium tutor. Aztecium is a genus of endemic cacti around here. This is me. I supposed to have a profile picture with my ugly face, but instead of that, I have this alien with the eggplant head. So you can play a lot with this. But okay, this is the basic training. So I'm gonna try to move to my presentation. I had a little accident on my presentation today. I lost it, and I had to make a few emergency slides for today. So talking about iNaturalist is we need to understand that citizen science, it's been around for a number of years, and it's not only involved with biodiversity. I mean, you can use citizen science to monitor like light pollution in the cities during the night. You can track asteroids, you can track microplastic pollution on the waters. You can do a lot of things with citizen science, and sometimes citizen science is not for scientists. I mean, I'm going to talk a little bit about what happens here in Mexico, because normally formal researchers, they are a little bit reluctant, and I say a little bit, but sometimes they are really hardly reluctant to use information coming from the society. We're not used here to welcome information that it's not being generated from within the researcher's laboratory. So this citizen science movement, especially during this last 5 years, has been making a huge impact in the way that citizens or researchers think about they getting data collected. And it's been a really positive movement, because here in Mexico, more and more biodiversity researchers are joining into this citizen science movement. Mammal expert, botanic experts, expert entomologists are now joining in, because they are realizing how much information they can gather for their own research and for decision-making authorities like governments, non-government organizations, of course, but most important, society is being empowered and communities are taking advantage of this information. And I'm going to make a quick comparison between one of the more important citizen science platforms, which is eBird. eBird, it's big, it's huge, it gathers millions of records on biodiversity, but they are just limited to birds. So if you want to know about anything about birds, eBird, it's the citizen science platform to be on. It is worldwide reach. It's also backed up by the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, which is a very respected authority or organization, but it only works with birds, leaving the rest of the biodiversity somehow neglected on this platform. This is why iNaturalist can make a huge difference on how people learn and participate in collecting information on biodiversity. A little bit of history. iNaturalist was born in 2008. That's not far away in time. It started as a master's degree project. I mean, it was like the dream of a group of students back in the, it was born even in the information, School of Information of Berkeley. So this is a good example for me because this kind of world project started in some students' mind, like all of us. I mean, we were all students at some point. We have dreams. We try to bring out projects, and this is a good example of young students dreaming about creating things that can have like a positive impact on the world. And I really have, I always have to say that I'm really proud that Mexico, my country, was the first country to actually join as a formal government agreement with iNaturalist and my country through the formal biodiversity organism that gathers all the biodiversity information around here, created the first platform outside the formal iNaturalist, and we call this Naturalista. And it's been a huge success. I mean, sometimes government are, I don't like government sometimes, but this is a really good initiative that was born from the government and was adapted to our Mexican ways or language. It was translated, so it works very good for all the country. I mean, people are getting more and more engaged, and I'm going to show you how many countries are now joining in, and a little glimpse on how much of just the vertebrates have been documented already on iNaturalist. The last estimated number was 50% of all vertebrates already documented on iNaturalist. Of course, birds are a very, very lovable group, and 92% of the birds of the world are already documented on iNaturalist. This is a good example on how much can we contribute to the biodiversity knowledge of the whole planet. I'm not still talking about countries. I'm not still talking about local areas. This is worldwide project, and just vertebrates alone are one of the best example, because let's be realistic. Vertebrates are one of the more studied groups that researchers really love them. I mean, we have entomologists, we have botanists, but somehow vertebrates always get to be there on the spot. So this is a good estimation on how much we know or we have compiled here on iNaturalist. I'm gonna skip this a little bit and going to change to the website. One of the main advantages, and I still going to show you how big is iNaturalist in terms of world numbers. This is research. No, I'm still fighting. You can see here that, well, just to put you in perspective, this is my my geographic area. This is the state within Mexico where I live. This is Northeast Mexico. But I'm gonna turn off this filter. I'm gonna start playing a little bit around so we can actually take a look at the whole world under iNaturalist. And as you can see, there are observations pretty much everywhere. I mean, you can see in the middle of the ocean, islands. You can go to the South Pole and you will see even these lonely observations around here. I hope somebody didn't got lost taking this kind of documentations. In the middle of the desert, the Sahara Desert, even in North Russia. There are observations everywhere. So 66 million observations from 2008 to just today. 332,000 species already documented. One of the most striking features is this number, 1.6 million observers. This means that we are not alone. I mean, we know that we are facing an extinction process. We know that we are depleting the planet from natural resources, that species are facing increasing dangers, but people are still out there trying to learn, to document, and to share information for scientists and decision makers. I mean, some people like Tony Revelo have more than 100,000 observations. I mean, that's insane. But no matter if you have this high number or you have like 1 or 2 or 3, every observations really counts for biodiversity. This guy, Silver Sea Star Song, have more than 13,000 species already documented. Well, people sometimes really get addicted, and I'm one of them, to iNaturalist. And the other really vital, crucial feature on iNaturalist is that since it was not designed for researcher or biologists, but to just common people, iNaturalist you don't need to know what you are observing. I mean, you can totally say that, okay, I have no idea of what this organism is. I don't know if it's a planet, if it's an animal, if it's a fungi. There are a community of people, almost 200,000, that are devoted to help other users to identify their observations. One of the more striking and impressive users is this guy, Aguilita, which his name is Roberto. Look at this number, 700,000 identifications to other users. And talking about people who are knowledgeable about some taxonomical groups, if you study hymenopterans or native bees, you probably know John Ascher. He's assistant professor on the National University of Singapore, researcher, associate at Lee Kong Chiang Natural History Museum. He's really a worldwide authority on hymenopteran and especially bees. And look at this. I mean, he has been making more than 500,000 identifications to other users. I'm taking a short notice on this because I wanna share with you that sorry, it's not only just common people that are joining into iNaturalist, but experts from across the planet are joining in and joining forces to make this information more reliable and more accurate. They're reviewing people's observations, so we are really building a more secure database on biodiversity informations. These are world numbers, and I'm really glad to say that this is something that it's totally new in world history. I mean, we usually, as researchers, made researchers by the traditional way. I mean, you go outside in the field, you make field work, sampling, but this is another tool. It's not here to replace traditional researchers or identifications. This is just a technological tool that really gives us a lot of information to analyze, to look for, to curate. So we have like more eyes on the field to have information from. And remember that in 2013, I told you about Mexico being the first country to join into the iNaturalist network. I think we have someone from Sweden today. So congratulations to Sweden, because today it's the official release or join from Sweden to the iNaturalist network. So aplauso, a big clap to them. And these last 2 weeks, at least, Panama, Costa Rica, and Guatemala here in Latin America also joined the iNaturalist network. As you can see here, most of the Latin American countries are already joining. Countries from Europe already joined, Australia, New Zealand already there. But we can see that we have a gap of countries not joining yet, still in Southeast Asia, and Africa is really missing some of the countries that already have joined in. You can see here that we have a very, very diverse logos and institutions. The things that I want you to consider, especially since you have now taken your first steps on the iNaturalist world, is as an institution, university, or government organizations, you can be part of this international network. Like, for example, where is Haifa? The Haifa University is the leading organization supporting iNaturalist Israel. And if we go to Argentina, there we have an NGO which is called Vida Silvestre, or Wildlife. It's an NGO that runs the whole country platform for Argentina. So I will invite you to consider to be the first country in Africa to join this international network. This is an invitation that we can talk a little bit later on, and I will contact you with Kari Seltzer. She's the international contact on the iNaturalist team. But this is really the way that you can improve your local community in the country to get more and more involved on biodiversity documentation and empower them on these matters. Okay, so we saw a little bit about the world, but what about our country? We of course are more interested in gather information for our own country, so we can preserve, we can use, we can promote education, and iNaturalist it's a great tool to engage communities on educational activities. It's very flexible. It's quite adaptable to particular needs on education, on research. So I want you to think of iNaturalist not just about some tool to document biodiversity, but also as a tool to get more interested in education on your community. If we are, sorry, oops. Yeah, we have a lot of activity this morning around here, children at school and things like that, but that's that will have to wait. Oh, sorry, I have this in Spanish. Let me try to put this in English. And that's another good thing. I mean, there's a lot of languages that can be translated. We have like Espanol, but I'm going to switch to English. Hopefully it will go back. Yeah, you can see that I have put here Kigali. I hope it's okay pronounced, but you can go from country level to city level to any geographical features that you desire. I mean, you saw that you have the project on a specific area here. So you can create polygons, you can create any geographical feature that you need. I mean, this is very, very adaptable. And you can see here that you have in this area like 500 observations, 221 species. And this is just been accomplished by 76 observers. Still in Spanish. I'm sorry about this. It should be working on. There you go. That's English now. So you can go to country level, and it's really simple, just as typing any geographical place in here, and then you can switch to species over there. This is a little demonstration of how you can explore biodiversity around you using the iNaturalist tools on the web platform. I mean, if you want to see how much biodiversity is already being documented in your country, you just type Sweden, and it will go there. Folks, ahorita hablo Charlie. Sorry, we're trying to deal with some issues around here. So you can change easily from any part of the world. Doesn't matter if you are just in one city or you travel around the world. You can document biodiversity anywhere you go, and you will keep this as your personal biodiversity journal. I'm going to share a little bit of what my observations will look like. There, this is what I have been seeing since 2013 when I joined the network. I've been able to document and like 5,000 species and 21,000 observations, and pretty much all around my country. This is just a short example on how much iNaturalist can work as a tool for yourself, for others to document biodiversity. But we have been seeing like how you can see the world, how you can see your country, your campus, but what about your home? Remember that I shared with you that I live in Northeast Mexico? I have created a couple of years ago a polygon for my house. So I'm gonna type casa, which is the word for house in Spanish, casacarlos, and you will be able to see where I live. So if you're visiting anywhere around here, you're welcome to stop by my house. And it doesn't matter if you're traveling across the country, if you're traveling across the world, you can always travel through your garden, your campus. And this is what I got from 5 years of living in this house. You can see we have a small car in here. This is to show you how big is this house. I mean, they're not big houses. I have like a very small garden, but in this garden, this small garden, we have been able to document 600 species, 1,338 observations. Wait, this is, oh, because this is just, I'm sorry, your observations. No, we have more than that. I was playing with, we have like 3 observers. It's myself, my dad, my wife, and we have like 685 species already documented in this short area. We have like 1,677 observations, and you can just step outside this area and make observations. What is remarkable around here is that we have been able to find even new species outside the door. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to show you very quickly another group. Remember that you can type any taxon here on iNaturalist. And what I'm showing you is this 3 crickets. How do I close this? So how do I move this one? Okay, I'm gonna put this here. This little cricket that we found just outside the door, it turned out to be a new species that it's about to be published formally. And this user here, Nancy Collins, she's the expert who actually recognized this as a new species, and I was able to work with her and documenting these specimens, taking photographs, recording the song of this species, so we can actually publish this as a new species. I'm gonna leave this on the chat so you can take a little more detailed look at how, where's the chat? Oh, here it is. You can see this later on. I mean, the process of finding new species, it's with iNaturalist is really more simple, and that you probably will think about it is, of course, description of new species is not about just taking photographs. It will take a more detailed research work and study. But this is how scientists and experts around the world are coming across new species and involving users of iNaturalist to actually describing this. And then I'm going to turn back to the presentation here, because some of these discoveries, they even made the newspaper headlines. I mean, this one here, sorry, it's about in Spanish, but you see this flower here, it's from the milkweed family, Asclepias, and it was described as a new species, and it was described with the name of Gonulobus naturaliste, in honoring the Naturalista platform, which is our Mexican version of iNaturalist. And the researchers actually found this species looking through the observation on iNaturalist, and they contact the users, they make the proper field work, they collected the proper vouchers for herbarium, and they published the new species in honor of the Naturalista or iNaturalist platform. And this was actually a big news around here, and it made the newspaper headlines. But these are these kind of examples are happening across the planet, and you can pretty much type on any paper repository, just type iNaturalist, biodiversity, and you will find a lot of papers already published, especially during the last 2 years. There are a lot of new papers dealing with this information that have been uploaded on iNaturalist, and later on I'm going to show you on GBIF where you can find this information also. This was published last year, just one pretty much a year ago. This species of bumblebee from the Philippines, which it has not been since the early 90s in the country. So some researchers thought that they were extinct, that they have disappeared, but thanks to iNaturalist, they were able to find this species again. So they rediscovered this, and they published this short communication on the species. So scientists are now realizing that the information is already there. Information is there to be published. Sometimes they just need to go there and find it. And if you think that iNaturalist is just about uploading pictures and the information just stays in iNaturalist, this is what I'm showing now. It's the GBIF repository for the iNaturalist research grade observations. We haven't talked about research grade observations yet, but this is a category that any observations can reach if they have the proper information on the observations. So more than half, or nearly half, the 66 millions of observational iNaturalists have research grade, and they are now for downloading on the GBIF page. The GBIF, of course, have more than just citizen science records. It has like collections and museums records for biodiversity, but there are a lot of citations from data sets from this particular website that have been already used for publications. And talking about large amounts of information, there's not only the species absence presence that you can use for research. This example here shows that researchers can actually gather information like phenology, flowering periods, periods that they're already on iNaturalist. And even the title of this paper, Methods for Broad-Scale Plant Phenology Assessment Using Citizen Science Photographs. They actually make the analysis and find like patterns or extraordinary flowering events using the iNaturalist photographs and phenology information that was already there. Again, this paper was published just pretty much a year ago, so there's a lot of room still to use. And the other thing that goes even deeper on finding information of iNaturalist is like this paper that deals with mining new sources of natural history observations from disease interactions. They were looking at fungal disease on the anthers of this particular group of plants, and they actually made a search of herbarium and fungarium to look for this disease, and they find that pretty much in 20 years, iNaturalists have produced the same quantity of informations that the one that was available from 200 years on formal collections and also museums and herbarium databases. I'm gonna go back. Is there any comments or questions yet? I mean, I can go talking a lot, but sometimes I missed out. Won't be my place. I'm not an entomologist, but if I use the tool and I make an identification, like I say here, Tramea insularis, but then one of the co-directors of iNaturalist came here and tell me, no, you are wrong. This is another species, Tramea onusta. And I said, okay, this guy, he's the co-director of the whole platform, and he's telling me I'm wrong. So let's start a discussion on how this can be identified. So we start a short discussion. I'm gonna leave this also in the chat so you can take a later look on this. So there's a lot of comings and goings about particular features and traits on how people identify and makes the identification. And this we are having like, okay, these are different photos from these particular images. This was not actually collected and collected, but we just took photographs of this. So you can actually call for different experts or people who are knowledgeable about these groups. Some of them, like Greg Lasley, sadly have passed away. He passed away early this year. But at some points, people like Martin Reed, who is a dragonfly expert, will come along and explain that regarding the sexual organs of these photographs, my identification was done correctly. Sometimes the process of identifying an observation will take time. And of course, there are mistakes that can be made, and there are misidentified species. That's a reality. I'm not going to say that everything is perfectly identified on iNaturalist, because it's not. I mean, there's a continuous work from the identifiers try to keep observations as clean as possible. But yes, there are errors. I mean, just like there are errors on collection specimens, but it's not that they cannot be corrected. And even if you find something wrong on GBIF, later on it will be updated and corrected. About the question on who owns the
bikoze batengerengana nabibasigiye gutyo mvuga nti wenda baza kubishyira ku murongo none se bari kubyica bate kandi.
Oh, who has their microphone unmuted? Oh, Jeanne, sorry. Yeah. Can you mute? Thank you.
I think I did it. Yeah, sorry. The observation here, it goes, there's a system of creating commons licensing, and you can choose from totally copyrighted information, so nobody can actually use your information without your express authorizations, to totally free information. Let me quickly go there and show you. More identify. Where's my profile? Sorry, here. You have a profile from iNaturalist, but then I'm gonna quickly show you how the licensing works. Licensing, you have this Creative Commons licensing. The standard by default license is attribution non-commercial. This will allow any observations that you make to actually go out to GBIF and can be used to from other scientists on publications. And there are license for your observations, the information, and also for your photographs. Sometimes you will receive emails, or somebody will contacting you that telling you that this is the only picture of a living specimen of a certain species, and they want to use your photographs for a paper or sometimes any other publications. And if you be kind enough to let them, you can say, okay, I have this attribution non-commercial license, you can use it, just give the proper credit and don't use it to sell it. I mean, this is pretty much how it works. But the information is still from you. I mean, it's your information, but now you are sharing this information. You're contributing to a more open data source information here. I mean, so I hope this clarifies a little bit on who owns the information.
Yeah,
yes.
There's another question from Hillary about what is research grade data?
Yes.
Is it defined in iNaturalist?
Yeah, the research grade, that's very important too. Let me go back to the Tramea insularis. Any observations have some basic features that you need to have. The first of all is evidence. Evidence will be your photograph or sound. iNaturalist doesn't allow you to upload videos, so photo and sound can be your evidence. That's the most important to get the research grade. And the other two, it's actually the time. Which is like this one is October 5th, 15 from 2006. And the third one will be location. So if you have location, time, and the evidence, that is the base to have a research grade. You will start every observations as casual observations. From there, the next one will be a community identification. So if people, more than 2/3 of the community agrees with your species identifications, that will allow the observations to be a research grade observations. So you see that it's not only that you post it, you have the proper informations, but you have to have the community agreement on what you are seeing. Of course, this will bring problems because sometimes an experienced user will just agree. And this happens to me also. I made a lot of mistakes identifying sometimes. But you can correct and you can actually acknowledge what you have made and make it better. Like this one, I have a cumulative IDs 5 to 5. from the original identification that I'd made, like Scott Laurie withdraw the identification, but then I had Greg Lasley, and I have Martin Reed. Then I have Juan Cruzado and Brian Gooding backing up my identification, and this will give my community identifications good enough to have their research grade. So research grade, there's actually an area where you can do quality assessment on the data. If you find that this is an organism that is not wild, you can mark it as cultivated, and it will lose the research grade that it's already have. When it's the particular observation is being used on other sites like Wikipedia or UCN, Red List, and the GBIF, it will let you know that it's being used on these sites. So I hope this clarifies a little bit. I mean, I know we're a short time, but this usually will take more time to explain, but this is just the basic outline of how research grade it works. And I mean, if you click on here on research grade, it will say your observations have media, location, date, and a community consensus on the precise identification, usually species, no? But this is pretty much how it works. I'm gonna, there's actually a, let me see, go. Yes, quality. I'm gonna let you this also in the chat so you can read a little bit more about the quality data here. I'm not sure how much time we have left. I don't wanna.
Well, we have about probably 10 more minutes. I do have a meeting at 4, so I can leave, and then you can field remaining questions. But I did see Providence. She managed to join. She was having internet problems, but there's some great questions here that some people from the training asked. Could we go through a few of those?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, thank you. So one of them is how to harvest submitted observations in a sheet.
Great question. Let's say that let me go to your campus. Okay, this is the project that you have created, right? So if you are interested in downloading this, there are a number of ways to do a download of this. I'm gonna say that for me, the easy one and the one that is more accessible, if you go to the Explore page here, if you there's a small box here in filters, you will see download here. Then you can prepare your query. You can, let's say that you want to download all the observations from your project. So you will just type the project name here, but you also want to just download the research grade ones. So you can refine your search here. Let's say that you only want to download bird research grade from your project, and it will make like 13 observations from 8 species. You can, whenever you are ready, or you wanna feel that you have properly marked your filters here, you will go to download here. You can, let's say that you want the whole country. You will clear the campus, so you will stay only with the country. So you're gonna have, okay, all these observations from 234 species. Again, you go here to filters, and then here is the download option. When you click on the download option, it will let you know that it's far more better to actually go to GBIF and make the query over there. I'm not an expert on downloading data sets from GBIF, but I have made it a couple of times. But
I think we might have another seminar on the GBIF, because this is so interesting. But what you were just doing there made me think that if we because we saw a very brief video in our training about using this with students. It would be really interesting to have students do little, reports based on mining some of the data from a particular project. For example, in the Arboretum, you could have them looking at different taxon groups and maybe map, things like that.
Yeah, yes, I'm taking the shortcut here because I know that we have not enough time. If Providence wants to, we can set up a more formal training on how to upload.
Oh, yes, please.
I'll be glad to do it if you are needed, especially with students. I mean, we need to train them in the arts of iNaturalist. But then, I mean, this is the in a broad way where you can actually create the export. This is the simple one. You will have like a spreadsheet, and there's a million ways to play with that.
Yeah. That's so cool. I just want to, there's a couple of quick things here, and because I do have a meeting at 4, but there's a really great comment here. We need a disagree icon, like the one for agree, for those suggested species in the observations where you might disagree. And the other quick thing I want to mention is we have Michael Thomas here, all the way from, I think he's in Hawaii. He travels a lot. But he was with us for 3 months in Rwanda, helping us with our national herbarium. And he mentioned that there's some herbarium specimens from the collection, and he gave the link for it in iNaturalist. There's ferns of Rwanda, and then also fungi. And I didn't even realize you could do that. So that's also really cool. You take specimen data, and then that's just so exciting, really. It's blowing my mind. So this is so great.
Even if you are an amateur, like let's say that in my house I have a couple of collections, and this is what I'm showing now in my if we like do surveys or informal surveys, you can actually upload these pinnet specimens, and you can take, I mean, cell phones or cameras are getting cheaper, and there's a lot of ways to actually make some not professional but usable.
Oh, wow.
So this is, I mean, you can see the labels there. I mean,
yeah. So what is the value of having the specimen observations on iNaturalist? Like, for example, this collection of insects here, or the herbarium, like the fern or the fungi collection?
Actually, it can help you to make it just the information available. Like this little beetle here, it turned out to be the first record for my country. And I got an email from the researchers that, let me show you the email. I mean, Chrysovoteris specimen here, okay. Because this researchers actually contact me, and he wanted the full information on the label and where it was trapped, because he's gonna add this observation through one paper that he's writing. So even if
fabulous.
It's not that I have like a formal entomological collection, but I do collect and preserve those specimens, and I keep them.
Yeah.
So they can be useful to other researchers, and it's
so cool.
It works.
Yeah. There's another. I want to make sure we get to another question that Providence posted.
Sure.
She was asking how somebody asked how to attract good identifiers to identify my observations. Is there research groups in different countries that can help? And if yes, what's the nature of those groups? So then I'm going to pop out of here, and maybe Daniel can take over moderating the questions. Is that okay, Daniel?
Yes, that's okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Beth.
And while I'm going to pop out, but thank you so much, Carlos. And I'm going to follow up with Providence and Daniel for another training on some of these details, because there were other questions asked about like making polygons and things like that. So thank you so much, and I'll let you get back to talking and answering these questions.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much. And sure, we will see each other again. Talking about identifiers, there's a very solid identifiers community. I mean, on the international level, Boris Boucher, who is an expert on beetles, Kim Wong-gun, who is very knowledgeable about true bugs, John Asher for Hymenopterans. It's not that you need to draw them. The identifiers will go when they find butterflies, when they find ferns. I mean, there's a growing number of experts in countries that are looking at what is being done on iNaturalist, and they're taking advantage of, okay, the information is there. If I properly curate that information, I can use it. Like the example that we saw from the species that make the newspaper headlines. The doctor who published it, he's an expert on that particular family in my country. So he just went through all the observations by naturalists. He started correcting it. He used the students also to help him. And that's a process where researchers and taxonomical experts are coming along and they are looking at these observations, and they're changing the traditional way of collecting information just from going outside in the field to actually using information from other people in the field and then just go through them and making the curation of the information and corrections. So there's another trick to find people. So let's say that you're interested in dragonflies. There's a taxa info here. It's not working because there's on each page for any taxon on iNaturalist, we have pages for kingdom, order, class, family, subfamily, genus, subgenus, species, subspecies.